Hey everyone, it's Michael Beresford here from OpenCorp, here for today's Property Wealth WOD. It is August, and that means it's tax time. The phone's been ringing, people clarifying what they can deduct, what they can't deduct when it comes to investment property. So I'm not an accountant, guys, sorry, got to give you that disclaimer, but really quick tip on what you can claim and what you can't when it comes to investment property. Pretty much every expense that you have with an investment property is tax deductible, except the stamp duty. So if you buy a completed house, established house, stamp duty on the whole lot is not tax deductible. If you buy a block of land and settle on that, then stamp duty on the land component is not tax deductible either. Okay. The other expense that is not tax deductible are your legal fees. So either having a solicitor or conveyancer who does the transfer of title and all the conveyancing for the property, that is a non-deductible expense as well. But generally speaking, pretty much everything else is tax deductible. Your loan interest, property management, advertising costs, rates, insurance, pest control if you've got it, any maintenance and repairs, all of those things are tax deductible. The big one that most people forget about though is really where the juice lies in terms of tax deductions with investment property, and it's in depreciation. The reason that we're doing this WOD on this today is we've spoken to 5 different people in the last 7 days who have got existing investment properties in their portfolio and didn't know about depreciation schedule. So little tip and hint for all you guys out there that have got investment properties, hope you've got a depreciation schedule. The good news, if you haven't got one, you can get one and you can lodge an adjustment to previous year's tax returns for the last 2 years, so you can claim a bit more of that back and get a really juicy sum of money in this year's tax return. Okay, so depreciation schedule, what does that mean? Well, if we think about the fact that most of us have probably heard the saying, don't buy a brand new car because if you do, it'll lose $5,000 worth of value the moment you drive it out of the showroom. Now, obviously approximate numbers, but the concept is right. And as soon as that brand new car becomes a second-hand car, it's lost value, or what the fancy term is, it's depreciated in value. So a building, i.e. the house component of a property, because if we consider a house in the suburbs, it's got a land component, that's the part that goes up or appreciates, and it's got a house component or a building component that depreciates. Now, that depreciation in value is what can be claimed as additional tax deductions. And the reason why I say that's where the hidden gem is in terms of tax deductions is because depreciation doesn't cost you anything. Loan interest, you've got to pay interest on a monthly basis to then claim the deduction. Same with advertising and rates and so forth, but not with depreciation. This is how depreciation works. So, you've got 2 components to the house part of the property as well. You've got the actual structure, so the frame, the slab, the 4 walls and the roof and so on. That's pretty robust stuff, it lasts for a long time. So, typically speaking, and again these are approximates, you get a depreciation schedule which is the professional's assessment, telling you exactly what you can depreciate. But to give you an idea of why it is so important for your cash flow, this structure component of the house can typically be depreciated at the rate of 2.5% per annum every year for 40 years. Okay, so if you buy a brand new, if you build a property, buy a brand new property finished, then you've got depreciation on the structure over the next 40 years. Okay, if you bought it 20 years old, then you've got 20 years left where you can claim depreciation. Now, if we say that this house is $250,000 worth, typically about 90% of that value will be in the structure and about 10% of that value will be in the fixtures and fittings. Okay, so 90% of 250 is $225,000, which is the build value. At 2.5% every year, okay, we're looking at $5,625 per annum every year for 40 years. Okay, so you can start to see how this becomes pretty powerful. Now, if we look at the fixtures and fittings component, they obviously wear out more quickly, you know, your doors, your ovens, your exhaust fans and so on. So 10% of the house value is $25,000, which can be depreciated at the rate of 10% per annum over 10 years. Now, there is a bit of science and calculation to this, guys, okay? You'll see on the depreciation schedule it's a sliding scale. I'm just going to keep it easy for today. Let's assume it was the same every year for the 10 years, okay? You're looking at $2,500 in deductions each year for 10 years on the fixtures and fittings side of things. So, when we add these up, we're looking at over $8,000 of additional tax deductions purely based on the fact that you're able to maximise your deduction expense. Okay, so brand new properties have got a whole range of positives about them from a risk protection perspective and cash flow perspective, like getting more rent, minimising maintenance risk and minimising stamp duty and so on. But the main one is you really get to supercharge your tax benefits because you're maximising this depreciation component. Okay, so I'm okay with numbers, I'm not this good. Let's say that $8,000 of extra tax deductions, and if you're on the 32.5% tax bracket, then there is over $2,500 back in your pocket each year, okay, by claiming depreciation, maximum depreciation deductions on your investment property. Just to put that into some perspective, divide that by 52, okay, and you're looking at about $50 a week. And for those of you out there that have been watching a few of our videos, you'll know that that's ample to be able to hold another investment property in today's market. Okay, so while depreciation might not sound like a big deal, I'm going to summarize it like this. If you've got an investment property already or more, and you haven't got a depreciation schedule, you need to go and get one before you lodge your tax return. Okay, they'll cost you between $500 and $1,000 typically from a quantity surveyor. Best money you'll ever spend because it will give you about this many tax deductions if the property is brand new or close to it. And on a 32.5% tax rate, you're looking at $50 a week extra in your pocket per property or thereabouts. When you consider that that will allow you to hold another property, just by having this depreciation schedule, you've supercharged your portfolio and you work out the compound growth on that over 10 years, it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to you. So there's today's tip, depreciation schedules, go grab one, and happy tax time.